The Houston Rockets got the first playoff win of the Ime Udoka era in a game where Jalen Green put together the most important performance of his career to this point, where Jimmy Butler may have suffered a serious injury, and where general chippiness culminated with a towel getting thrown. The Rockets took down the Warriors tonight, 109-94. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Grow up, are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is 3 a.m. Central Time on April 24th, 2025. Live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says, on Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can generally catch it Monday through Friday around 4 p.m. Central Time, or occasionally after major Houston sporting events. Schedule is all over the place this week with the NFL draft and, of course, these way too fucking late games that are being played in Central Time in the National Basketball Association. The Houston Rockets just won one of those games, 109-94, Game 2 of this first-round Western Conference series between the Rockets and Warriors. This show is also available wherever you get your podcasts after the fact, Apple, Spotify, and on SoundCloud. If you ever want to cut me off mid-thought, on YouTube, where you should be watching this bad boy, you can super chat me, and guess what? I'll play this. No, just kidding. I'll play this.
Bro, stop talking. Listen.
That's former Houston Texan Wade Smith one time telling me to stop talking in the middle of a segment. I'll stop talking right away, and guess what I'll do right then? I'll answer any question that you might ask, but I will eventually get to your comments. Since this is recording in the wee hours of the morning, right after I got back from Toyota Center, where am I from? Chicago or something like that. I'm a little bit punchy, little tie. But let's talk about what happened tonight. After what we saw between the Rockets and Warriors in Game 1, I can totally understand why many people had serious questions about how much the Rockets would be able to score in this series. If you take a look at the Rockets, the conventional wisdom is they just don't have a closer. Who is the guy that you look at on the Houston Rockets and you say, I trust that guy with the game on the line? After Game 1, you would have maybe said Alperen Sengun, but when Sengun gets double-teamed, how does that work? You hope that it can be Amen Thompson someday, but in Game 1, Amen Thompson looked extremely uncomfortable. So if it's not Amen Thompson, it's not Fred VanVleet, who shoots way too much. It's not Dylan Brooks, who also shoots way too much. You're hoping that it could be Jalen Green. And Jalen Green in Game 1, at least from a numbers perspective, he struggled. He was 3 of 15 from the field. He was 0 for 4 from outside. It wasn't a good game for him. I don't think he was as bad as he was made out to be. I thought he was still engaged in everything that didn't have to do with shooting the basketball. I thought he played solid defense. He was active on the glass. He had 8 rebounds, but certainly wasn't his best game offensively. So how do you handle something like that? It's your first playoff performance. You talk afterwards about how you were dealing with some jitters. Are you going to be able to bounce back? Was it actually jitters? Or is this guy's confidence going to be completely done for the rest of the series? Well, at least for Game 2, it sure as shit ain't done. I don't know how many people have seen the hit musical, The Sound of Music, starring Julie Andrews, but there is a pretty awesome tune where Julie Andrews talks about confidence. I'm going to sing it, and hopefully my downstairs neighbors don't get mad at me because it is late at night. After all, it is 3 p.m. Central Time. But the words to this song. I have confidence in sunshine. I have confidence in rain. I have confidence my shot will come again. Besides what you see, I have confidence in me. That's what Jalen Green has. Jalen Green did not give the slightest shit about his poor performance in game 1. He shot 15 times in game 1. He shot 25 times in game 2. He shot 18 times from three-point land in game 2. He hit 8 of them. He scored 38 points. He also had 6 assists, and that's how he really started the game off, distributing. He had 4 rebounds. He had 3 steals, just 2 turnovers. He was fantastic tonight, and this is the game that every Houston Rocket fan has been looking for quite some time. You were wondering if Jalen Green was capable of a performance like this in the playoffs. Now, I see a lot of people that are doing victory laps, or they're putting out forms online talking about how you now need to apologize to Jalen Green for doubting him. No, I'm not going to go that far. It's all about what you can do over the course of a series, but it's great to see that Green is actually capable of carrying the Rockets on his back in a game where a lot of other Rockets struggled. Alperen Sengun, you see his final stat line, 17 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and I mean, that's pretty impressive. Almost a triple-double. But Sengun really struggled underneath the basket, and that's been an all-season problem for him. Game 1, not so much. This game, he wasn't particularly good. And then when you factor in the amount of Houston Rockets who were dealing with foul trouble in the first half, Amen Thompson had 3 in the first quarter. Dylan Brooks and Sengun both had 3 in the first half. Someone was going to have to carry them. It wasn't Fred VanVleet. He was 1 for 7 from outside again. Thompson, I feel like after what was a pretty energetic start, he made a bunch of dumb fouls in this game. We'll talk about the one on Jimmy Butler, which I do not think was his fault, but he made some other, I think, boneheaded fouls for foul 1 and foul 3. So he's in foul trouble early on, and you're wondering, okay, well, who's going to shoulder the load? And credit to Tari Eason, who came off the bench. He's 6 of 9 from the field. He scored 14 points. And at one point in the game, he had 12 points. He led the entire game in scoring early on. They needed Tari Eason early, but the rest of the game, whenever the Rockets needed to punch the Warriors back in the mouth, Jalen Green was the guy who did it. This was the most important performance of his career thus far. And the key word is thus far. We're talking about a first-round playoff series against a Warriors team that is clearly not the Warriors team of old, a team that is Steph Curry there, sure, has Draymond Green, an older version of him, sure, but also was without Jimmy Butler for large portions of this game. I'm not going to act like this is the greatest performance ever, but Green does deserve a tremendous amount of credit. To be confident like that after a game where many were saying you weren't, that deserves a lot of credit. So I'm really happy for Jalen Green for bouncing back the way that he did. Will he be able to do it in Game 3 when this series goes on the road for the Rockets to San Francisco? Truly, I do not know. I know there's that idea of, oh, this team's just young enough to not understand what they're really up against. You know, I'm sure all sorts of cliches are being spouted along those lines, but it is another thing entirely to go on the road against a team like the Golden State Warriors who have been doing what they've been doing for such a long period of time, you know? So we start with Jalen Green. We now move on to talking about Jimmy Butler, who suffered a pelvic contusion. Fuck, that sounds terrible. I'm really curious about what his status will be the rest of this series. It could be the difference, obviously. If he's not playing the rest of the way, I feel 100% confident that the Rockets will win it. I don't know that it'll happen in 5 games or 6 games or 7 games. I would tend towards more games rather than fewer. I don't think the Rockets take this in 5 even without Jimmy Butler, given some of their scoring issues, the long stretches, the long droughts that they have. But what will Butler do? This is a gamer. You know, I know that a lot of Rockets fans don't like the Golden State Warriors. I have a great deal of respect for the Warriors. I love Steph Curry. I've always had a weird thing for Draymond Green. A little bit different after watching a game like this with a Rockets team that I like, unlike the James Harden teams. Draymond was pulling all sorts of shit all game long. Come on, Warriors fans, you got to admit it. There was a lot of that bullshit going on. He does it. Every team has a player who does that stuff. We have Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks versus Draymond Green. I for sure thought there was going to be a fight. No, not yet at least. It felt like it almost was about to happen. Didn't quite happen, though. I think Jimmy Butler's going to fight his hardest to get back into this series. I really don't know how much of a limitation a pelvic contusion is going to provide. Obviously, that sounds fucking terrible. I don't know. I think he will try to get back in. But I want to make this clear. And I know a lot of Warriors fans are on the warpath tonight, being absolute psychopaths about this moment. I feel like they weren't actually watching the play, and they're saying, oh, well, he threw Tyler Hero down once. But go back and watch the replay of Amen Thompson going underneath Jimmy Butler, upending him, and having him fall hard on his pelvis. Go watch the play. You can't tell me Amen Thompson did that on purpose. You can reach and say, oh, well, he did it with Tyler Hero that one time he body slammed him on the ground. Watch it again. There's traffic behind Jimmy Butler, who's up in the air. You've got Steven Adams thinking he is boxing out a Golden State Warrior player, but he's actually got his left elbow basically across Amen Thompson. You have Draymond Green to the left of Amen Thompson with his right arm on Thompson. And I think when Adams made impact with Thompson, the force with which he hit Thompson pushed him through Green's arm. Thompson is clearly falling over, and he falls backwards into Jimmy Butler. And then you see him lying on the court after it happened. Amen Thompson did not intend to do that. And as somebody who knows people who cover the team on a more regular basis than I do, this is one of the nicer guys on the Rockets. I don't think this is in his DNA. Ask anyone who covers this team. I think that was just an awful accident. And it sucks. I would have liked to see the Warriors at full strength here. I don't know if Jimmy Butler's going to be able to bounce back from it. I do know he's going to try. And I do know that this helps the Houston Rockets a lot. And that's probably why Warriors fans are online being absolute nut jobs tonight. Acting like Amen Thompson is Bill Laimbeer from the Bad Boy Pistons of the 1980s. So we'll see what happens with Butler going forward. This was a strange game. The final score, it's a blowout, right? I mean, the Rockets won this game by, doing a little math here, 15 points. And there were stretches where they were winning by 20, by 22. But didn't it feel like they should be winning by 30, by 40? And again, it's the NBA. It's hard to win by that much. But it felt like the Rockets had a lot of opportunities, whether it was on second chance points, like they've had so much success to open up this series doing, or turnovers that they forced that they were unable to capitalize on. They forced 15. The Rockets only had 10. It just felt like there was a lot missing from this one. You know, I'm happy the Rockets won, but if I were watching this through the lens of being a Celtics fan, which, by the way, I am, I mean, I wouldn't have been thrilled with this. I would say there's a lot to clean up in this game. I would say the Warriors gave you a dud of a game, and one of their best players got hurt in it. And I mean, for fuck's sake, you got some guy named Pat Spencer, who's number 61 out there, who's tied for as their third leading scorer. You know, I mean, look at this team. Who the fuck is Quinton Post? No offense to those guys. They were without Brandon Podziemski for most of this game. Like, that should be an issue, you know? this is a game that I feel like as it wore on, sure, the Warriors got within 8 a couple of times, but it almost felt like the Warriors knew, okay, this ain't our night. Are we going to go all out the rest of the way? That's not to say that the Rockets didn't win this one. No, they did. And it was a great performance by Jalen Green. But I don't think we should be beating the drums as if the Rockets have won this series. I think that there's a lot that they left on the table in this one. Şengün with the shots that he doesn't make underneath, it's really infuriating, you know? I mean, at least the Rockets hit their free throws in this game. They were 16 of 20 from the line after missing almost half of their free throws in game one. But if Şengün's missing bunnies right under the basket when he's got the clear size advantage on just about everyone on the Warriors, what happens next time around, you know? This was one of those games where the Rockets' size advantage didn't really play to it that much. Sure, Jabari Smith Jr. had 24 minutes, but not as much action for him. Steven Adams played 17 minutes, not as much on his front either. There's a lot of things, I think, that when you look at this series, if you're watching the film, if you're Ime Udoka, there's going to be a lot to point at and be pissed off about. A couple more thoughts on the game. I put together a list, and again, I'm apologizing because I'm a little bit loopy. This was a classic Draymond Green game. This is a classic, this is why 29 NBA fan bases hate Draymond Green. I like players like Draymond. If you follow me long enough, you know that Patrick Beverley was once my favorite Houston Rocket, even when James Harden was on the team. I like these gnats, these pests, these guys who play football. The Rockets after the game were talking about how, listen, this Warriors team tries to get under your skin, tries to get in your head, and Draymond does it more than anybody. And if you watch this game, my God, the shit Draymond was doing, I took as many notes as I possibly could, and I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff. In the first quarter, there was a moment where Draymond hit Dillon Brooks in the back of the neck. He also knocked down Amen Thompson. In the second quarter, there were some more Draymond and Dillon Brooks moments. There was one away from a play where Steven Adams got tackled by post. I watching this in the bowels of the stadium, was unable to understand what the hell was going on. It's kind of tough being in the stadium and not having the broadcasters explaining calls and reviews that are taking place. But that was a confusing one. I do not remember what the referee said for that moment in time. And it led to the Toyota Center crowd chanting, "Fuck you, Draymond." And to Draymond's credit, this guy's a perfect heel. I wonder if he ever tries to do wrestling. Draymond just tagged him on. It's a fun moment. I laughed at least. I've had Draymond's laughing about it after the fact as well. And after the game, I don't know how many people saw this, and I'll admit, as a Bostonian, I was a little bit triggered before I actually heard what Draymond said here. But I'm going to show this to y'all right now. If you're watching along on YouTube and or Twitch or Twitter or Facebook or on Instagram. This is Draymond after the game asked about those F you Draymond chants.
That the crowd yelled what it yelled. F you, of course. I'm just wondering, did you notice it? Did you let it? How did you feel about that?
It's not original. Been there before, won a championship while it's happening. So yeah, it's not really an original. Can't steal other people. That belongs to Boston. Can't steal other people. That belongs to Boston. So I kind of just kept it pushing.
Fuck you, Draymond belongs to Boston. I don't know. It's not that original as far as Boston chants go. I thought when Draymond said that he was also taking a shot because I'm a triggered masshole. I thought for sure when Draymond originally said that he was taking a shot at Bostonians for a lack of creativity with the fuck you, Draymond. But this is what Draymond does. Draymond gets under the skin of the team that he's going up against. He gets under the skin of the fan base. So then you see in the third quarter, there's a moment. And this moment, I do not understand why it blew up the way that it did. amongst Warriors fans, but there was a moment where I was actually defending Draymond Green to a degree. Because I'm not even halfway through all of Draymond Green's shenanigans in Game 2 tonight. So Jalen Green puts a forearm to Draymond's face. It was a clear forearm to his face. Draymond embellishes the shit out of it, but he did get hit in the face. A flagrant one gets called on Jalen Green. And you know what? In a game where Jalen Green scores 38 points, if I'm Draymond, I'm trying to get that fucker out of the game as best I can. I don't like that he went and did that. I'd like to think that I'm above resorting to those tactics, but when you've been winning as many times as the Warriors have, maybe it's a little bit different for you. You want to cling on to that title as long as you can. You want to keep that dynasty going as long as you can. But that flagrant one, I mean, it made things dicey for a moment. And, you know, the Rockets, to their credit, Alperen Sengun started embellishing back after getting pushed by Draymond Green. So then another fuck you Draymond chant started. Then with 5:36 to go, there was another fuck you Draymond chant after Draymond knocked out Amen Thompson again. It was a violent game. I like watching physical basketball. I ain't no bitch that's going to complain about this after the fact. But I thought that this was more than most games a Draymond Green classic. I know a lot of people don't like it when Draymond does that. I'm entertained by it. I don't necessarily like it. It is something else when it's going against the team that you actually like. And again, I always had a tough time getting behind those James Harden Rockets teams. I just don't like the way Harden plays basketball aesthetically at all. Anyway, there was a moment towards the end of this game, not too long after the last scuffle between Draymond Green and Amen Thompson. At some point, Draymond Green and Fred VanVleet started jawing with one another. Tari Eason got in between both of them. Both benches came out, and then out of nowhere, Tari Eason just threw a towel into the mass of Rockets and Warriors players who were congregated at midcourt, which led to referees reviewing what went down. There wasn't really any shoving. There wasn't any pushing, which honestly was a little disappointing. I've been waiting for some pushing and shoving between these two teams who clearly don't like each other. I think it's a safe thing to say. And the referee goes up to the camera and says, "We are reviewing for a hostile act." And ultimately the hostile act was Tari Eason doing something so terrible. He threw a towel. Yeah. A disgusting act, to quote Joe Buck when he saw Randy Moss mooning the Lambeau Field crowd during a Vikings-Packers game back in the day. A disgusting act. I just think it's really funny that it got to that point and the referee's actually having to say, "We're reviewing this for a hostile act." And then the hostile act is, again, the towel throwing, and they're showing the replay on the TV broadcast of Tari Eason slowly throwing the towel. This is perhaps my favorite question that I have ever asked of an athlete, because I decided, you know what, screw it. Let's see what these guys have to say about Towelgate. You had Tari Eason and Draymond Green. It's not Draymond Green. You had Tari Eason and Jalen Green up at the podium after the game. Here is what those two had to say. If you're watching along on YouTube, at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports, on Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on X/Twitter at Gallant Says. First off, let's start with Jalen Green. The camera's focused on Jalen Green. The question is what I'm asking to Tari Eason. Again, I'm a little tired. Here's my question to Tari.
Tari, today I learned that tossing a towel is a hostile act. What led up to that moment, and how would you explain just how chippy this game got?
I didn't even see it, though. I didn't even see you throw the towel. I'm like, what the?
I'd say my emotions just got the best of me. That's really all it was. In between the lines, you got to know you got to keep it basketball, and that's really all it is. And I'm going to just be better for my team moving forward and controlling my emotions. I know that, with them, some of the guys they have over there, their thing is to kind of try to, beat you mentally. And, if you know basketball is 90% mental. So I just got to, stay even keel and, move on.
So he's going to have to move on from that. I thought that was a very professional answer. I love that I made Jalen Green laugh with that question because I had never heard of throwing a towel as a hostile act. And honestly, if anything happened in that game further than that, yeah, I would have understood maybe being miffed by a question like that. But they threw a fucking towel and they called it a hostile act. Like, what are we doing here? It's ridiculous. Anyway, that was a fun moment in this game. Its series is tied at 1 game apiece. Now we're going to dive into an escalation that I did not see coming. So for those who don't watch sporting events and tweet at the same time, there were a couple of moments in tonight's game where I seem to have triggered every single Golden State Warriors fan. I would have thought that it would have come in a moment like this. I don't know how many people saw this post that I made, but it was talking about Amen Thompson undercutting Jimmy Butler. Accidentally, in my opinion. I posted, not sure what Amen Thompson was thinking on that second to last foul. The foul before that, it was a really dumb foul by Thompson. But the third one where he went under Jimmy Butler was bad luck. Adams accidentally shoved him into Butler. And all the responses are saying, oh, Draymond did it. Draymond did it. Draymond did it. No, I think Draymond, his right arm fell forward as Steven Adams pushed Amen Thompson through said arm that he had been using in that moment in time to hold Thompson back. I've watched this play far too many times, and I see in this situation, all the Rockets fans are mad at me because I'm not saying that Draymond did it. So a little bit later in the game, another incident takes place where, and if you haven't seen the actual play here, this is posted by Mark Berman. There's a right here you see both Jalen Green. Hang on, let me mute this so I don't get in trouble. You see Jalen Green and Draymond, jostling for position. And, I mean, Jalen Green clearly takes a forearm to Draymond's face. And then Draymond, a second later, embellishes. And, I mean, again, I get why you would. But he definitely touched Draymond's face there. No denying it. And then you have the delayed reaction. See, look at Draymond's face opening up, his mouth opening up the way that it does. He clearly embellished. So I posted about it. I said, Draymond's been pulling shit all game and embellished, but Jalen did put a forearm in Draymond Green's face. So I'm actually defending Draymond Green here. And I don't know why it blew up among Warriors fans where they're all salty, but it led to a bunch of comments about all sorts of plays that had nothing to do with that moment. Like, see, here we go. Here's a post that is showing Jimmy Butler getting undercut by Amen Thompson. Well, what the fuck does that have to do with this play in particular I'm talking about? Someone said you're a disgrace. Someone said that Amen Thompson literally tried to end Jimmy's career. Shut the fuck up, bozo. It's bizarre, man. You're a fucking retard. Hey, that's not cool. Found the dumbass. Shut the fuck up, man. What else do we have in response to this? It was a lot. And then I got a response from a Seattle person. Seattle don't want you, big fella. Stay in hillbilly town. So that got me pissed off. And I spent far too much time thinking up responses to send to these Seattle people because I have bit my tongue a lot about Seattle and all the shit that I had to deal with when I was up there and the reasons that I left. I actually was forced to bite my tongue on certain things, and I'll just leave it at that. But I got mad and I said, did you secure your mask before you tweeted this while watching a homeless person take a dump in the middle of the street? Because that's something I've actually seen. I've made eye contact with the homeless person taking a shit in the middle of, Pioneer Square, right outside of a metro station in Seattle. I've made eye contact with the person who was dropping a chocolate dragon, okay? I've seen actual shit. It's not fun. So I got into a back and forth. And then triggered Paul decides, you know what? Fuck these Warriors fans. Fuck you. You pussies. You pussies. Calling me Chris Broussarded? Fuck you. If you want to play a petty war, if you want to get into a back and forth of shit talk, I will burn you to the fucking ground like I'm William Tecumseh Sherman. You don't want to play this game with me. I'm just like Draymond Green. I don't know when to turn the off switch on. Sam Morrill, fantastic stand-up comic who you might know for going on morning news and completely submarining segments by being hilariously awkward. Describe Draymond Green as the kind of person who, when you're busting balls, he's going to bring up that your mom has cancer. And he's going to think it's funny. That is how I will respond to you. So you're coming after me. I'm going to respond with a tweet like, hey, how did this blow up amongst Warriors fans? I get it. The homeless have overrun your once pretty city, except when the Chinese Communist Party is visiting. Look that up, because there was a sequence in 2023 when President Joe Biden was welcoming Xi Jinping, the chairman or whatever, of the Chinese Communist Party, to San Francisco. And all of a sudden, homeless people, which were all over San Francisco at the time, were nowhere to be found. I'm told things have cleaned up since Trump took office. That's nice. Gavin Newsom probably should have gotten on that a little bit ago, but let's not make this about politics. I chose violence. I chose violence to respond with it. And this led to some violence in return. It's weird, man. I don't understand why this tweet that I posted about Draymond Green, where I'm defending him, turned into this. And I feel like I deal with this a lot. Like the things that blow up for me on the internet never make any sense. Like one of my biggest posts on Instagram is some fucking throwaway comment I had about the WNBA. One of the biggest posts that I've had on TikTok is talking about Travis Kelce's ex-girlfriend. These are things that are not necessarily my wheelhouse. I'm fucking awesome at what I do. We all know this. That's why we're watching right now, if you are watching at 3:30 in the morning. But I'm really struggling to think, like, how did this get here? There's an Astros Facebook fan group that's pissed off at me because I used a picture of an Astros fan who I'd never heard of before, who has his own Facebook page, like a delusional psychopath. And he was mad that I used the picture, but I had Googled arrogant Astros fan, and he was the first person that came up. So I just used it as a thumbnail for a post where I was talking about how arrogant Astros fans are going into this series against the Tigers. I was one of them. And people got pissed at that. So, look, right now what I'm dealing with is a bunch of Warriors fans who are salty because I think that they realize that trading for Jimmy Butler isn't going to result in an immediate championship. And the next time that they'll have a chance to win one, Jimmy Butler's going to be 36. Draymond's going to be 36. Steph Curry's going to be 38. And I get it. I get how it sucks when your team all of a sudden gets old. I grew up a Patriots fan, you know, more Super Bowls than the Warriors for what it's worth. in a more difficult league to win. But it's one of those things where you know as it's getting close to the end that it's getting close to the end and you only have a little bit of time left. And if Jimmy Butler is out for the rest of the series, which does suck, it gives the Rockets the leg up. It does. The Warriors aren't winning this series without Jimmy Butler. They could keep it competitive, I'm sure. I respect them a great deal, but it's over. And what I'm seeing right now with all these comments that are getting mad at Amen Thompson and saying, oh, he's trying to end the career of Jimmy Butler, and these responses that I'm getting for accurate comments about San Francisco from a bunch of libs who have probably never left California and don't have any perspective on the United States of America, it is projecting. But I sense your insecurity. I sense your panic. And I mean, I want you guys to know this, because I know that you guys are, the last 2 years, play-in tournament veterans. You do know that this series goes 7 games, right? You know how basketball works. So you won the first game, and that actually doesn't get you out of the first round. You lost the second game. So one of the 2 teams in this series, get this, Warriors fans, one of the other 2 teams has to win 1, 2, 3 more games. You guys are panicking after losing a game to a team that isn't very good offensively. You guys are panicking after losing to a team that's got a bunch of young players, where the most famous or infamous player on the team is Dylan Brooks, at least at this moment in time. That might change by the end of the playoffs if Jalen Green keeps on doing what he's doing. I'm not expecting as much out of Amen Thompson right now. I get that you're nervous. I get that you're scared. But there's plenty of series left. I think Jimmy Butler's going to be back. So I get it. Like, you're upset. You're sad. You know? Little Libbies living in a dying city, paying outrageous amounts of money to live there. Your tiny little boxes. I get it. It's tough. It's so tough. Just know that this series isn't over. I'm praying for you. That's right. I'm looking up into the skies and praying to sweet baby Jesus for you, because I think you need help. And I know a lot of you guys are atheists. You don't believe in God. That's right. You know, why would you believe in God when there's poop all over the sidewalk? Stepping around, walking around, San Francisco, sitting on the dock by the bay. Oh shit, I sat in a mud pie. It's one of those things where I get your sadness, but it's just one game. Don't take it out on little old me. Please don't. Okay? Thank you. And on that note, that's going to wrap up a post-game edition of the Gallant Says podcast. Nice win for the Houston Rockets. 109-94 over the Warriors. Still plenty of series left. We'll see what Jimmy Butler's status is going forward with his pelvic contusion. That just sounds miserable. Appreciate everybody who did watch this live. Doesn't seem like there were that many of you, but if you're watching it in the morning and you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. You can also give me a sub on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says, on Instagram at Sports Gallant. Please follow me on both of those if you haven't already. You can also like my Facebook page at Paul Gallant Sports. Normally, you can catch this Monday through Friday around 4 p.m. Central Time, also occasionally after major Houston sporting events. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts after the fact. So if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. If you roast my ass, I'll read it. Warriors fans, that's you. Until tomorrow, we will not be doing a 4 p.m. Central Time show because I got to do a noon to 3 radio show, and we're going to be talking a lot about the NFL draft. But we will react to whatever the Houston Texans do in the first round of the NFL draft at some point on Thursday night. I hope that you tune into this show live when it happens. So make sure, again, that you've subscribed to all of those ways you can watch the Gallant Says podcast live. I do think it's better experienced live. Until then, after the Houston Texans make a pick in the first round, I am merely Paul Gallant. So long. Farewell. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your Thursday.